Welcome to Power CEOs, the truth behind the business. I'm Jen Gaudet, your fearless host, entrepreneur, investor, and business coach. And I am here today because I believe that iron sharpens iron. When we bring successful executive and entrepreneurs to the show and chat about what's working and maybe what isn't, as well as some of the habits of success, then we're able to really up-level everything that we do and get that positive momentum. What happens as a result is we elevate our businesses, and that ripple effect spills over into not only our businesses and our families, but our teams, their families, our communities, and the world. I am really excited to be here today because I have one of my original mentors with me on set, and she's really an excellent person to discuss all things entrepreneurship because Carrie Peters is a 17-year entrepreneur. She's founded or co-founded 6 companies and generated over $200 million in revenue. She's a complete rock star at what she does, and she actually trains coaches, health coaches and life coaches in one of her businesses. She was one of my original mentors. I'm really excited to introduce her to you. Welcome to the studio, Carrie.
I am so happy to be here. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction.
Absolutely. It has been such an honor to have you here with me because, as you know, you are a very important part of my journey in the coaching realm. And so I wanted to kind of dive into that first because a lot of people message or email me in the show and they're like, great, you always talk about coaching. What about coaching? Talk to me about how coaching has impacted you and how you got into what it is that you do.
Well, I got into it because I needed it for myself. And I think that's what brings a lot of people to coaching. And I specifically started with health coaching because I struggled with all kinds of challenges with body image, around weight. I struggled with emotional eating, and I couldn't really find solutions to those things. I tried all kinds of therapies and modalities and things like that, but I was still struggling. And I finally had the courage to enroll in a coach training, which was really scary to me because I'd never done anything like that in my life. I had a completely different career that I had focused on since I was a teenager. And so it seemed like a left turn to move into coaching, but it was just a pull in my gut and in my heart. And so I went for it, and wow, it completely changed every aspect of my life for the better.
And that has really evolved over time because you went from coaching to running Health Coach Institute and really being one of the key instructors, helping to influence all of the subsequent coaches who went through your program. So talk to me a little bit about how that journey with you has actually transpired in a way that has impacted so many. I mean, tens of thousands of people have gone through your program. Talk to me a little bit about what that looks like and feels like on your end.
I can't really wrap my head around it. I have 2 realities with it, Jen. One, I can't wrap my head around it at all because I never anticipated that would happen. When I graduated from my first coach training and I started to try to coach, I unfortunately learned the hard way that I didn't learn how to coach. That initial training that I took there were a lot of benefits to it, but one of the biggest challenges was you actually didn't learn how to coach, and that was that's the one thing you need to know to make a living as a coach. And so I really was at a crossroads where I thought, well, either I could decide to learn this because it's a skill and I see other people doing it, and if they're doing it, could I do it? Or I just let it go and I don't coach. And I just decided, you know what? I've come this far. Why don't I learn how to do it and then see what happens? And lo and behold, years later, we end up creating Health Coach Institute and training coaches all over the world. But the genesis of that training was my frustration that I didn't learn how to coach when I was in that initial training. I mean, it was thousands of dollars and a lot of my time. And it's not that I didn't get other benefits from it. I did. There's a lot to be said for it. But that one skill is so important because it's really hard to facilitate change in others and feel confident about, asking for money for your service when you actually don't know what you're doing. So that's what informed Health Coach Institute. Our goal is like, we want to graduate outstanding coaches with outstanding skills.
And you absolutely have achieved that. I mean, I've borne witness. I send the people who work for me through the program because of all the programs that I've witnessed. And I've done quite a few since then because I believe that the more tools we have in our toolbox, the better. So I'm constantly learning and growing as a coach and as a human being. But of all the different programs and certifications, you guys really do nail the art of coaching and the skill set of coaching, because it really truly is a skill set, as you discussed. But I want to point out something that you said and just dive into that, because you have founded more than just that company. That was, you saw the gap based off of your own experience, and you created the Health Coach Institute to fill that need. And you've done that over and over again. So one of the key things about entrepreneurship is we identify a problem and we solve it, right? And we solve it in a way that adds tremendous value to the people who are our customers and clients. And so as this has evolved over time with Health Coach Institute and the other things that you've done, you've kind of identified other gaps, you've filled other needs. Talk to me about how it is that you identify those gaps. When do you look for them? And when do you decide, you know what, I'm gonna provide a solution for this and go for it, as opposed to, oh, this is a great idea. No, it's not gonna be worth a business, if you will.
I love this question, Jen. Literally nobody has ever asked me that question. But I've thought about it. Like, why am I drawn to certain things? And when I look back over the course of the things that I've built, and when I think about the things that I still want to build, honestly, what fuels me is I get angry about something that I think should be better for the end user or the client or the customer or the student. I really think it comes from a love of the customer, the client, the student, going, they deserve something amazing. And I feel, if I'm feeling angry about something needing to be better or different, because I feel like we deserve better, that is generally going to result in a business idea for me.
I love it. You're fueled by your client's success. You know, one of the things that we talk about a lot, and I coach a lot of business owners as well, and one of the key things is, how can we serve our clients better, and really putting ourselves in our clients and our customers' shoes and feeling their pain points. That empathy for their pain points is also what drives me when I'm developing other lines as well. So how is it, like, is there a point in the trajectory where you're like, this is not what I wanted it to be, and I'm going to do it now? Like, is there a tipping point that happens for you, or is it just something that you happen to notice and you're like, it lights your fire immediately?
If I think about the things I'm most passionate about, I've been noticing it for a while. And then eventually something pops in my head as a potential solution. I'm probably angry about it for a while before I get to, or an idea is given to me to say, hey, this is how it could be better. Or I start to think, what would I want? What's the thing that I think would be absolutely amazing that I would pay for? And then that's the trajectory of the idea forming.
And so once you have the idea and you're like, okay, I'm going to do something about this because I'm angry or I've got that passion behind it, how do you drive it to implementation? Because let's be real, there's a whole lot of ideas out there, and ideas are cheap. It's the implementation and actually development and sale of the product that gets it to, proof of concept, and then we're able to take it to the business and take it to the next level. So talk to me a little bit about how you're able to maneuver from idea to, hey, this is a viable option, test case, and roll out, because this is something that a lot of entrepreneurs really struggle with. They're filled with ideas, but the implementation process is kind of where a lot of people get stuck. So what does that look like on your end? And I know you coach many people on this as well, so you're an ideal person to discuss this.
Well, it's tough because if you're an entrepreneur, you're a creative. And when you're a creative, I'm an idea machine. My ideas are a mile a minute all day long. And the second I actually stop working, more flood in. So it can be very hard to, first of all, narrow it down to one. And then second of all, have this sort of discipline and focus to execute. Because there's going to be another idea that we feel like I don't want to abandon. Our ideas are like our babies. I don't want to abandon my baby. This is a good idea. It needs attention. But the reality is, at least I can only kind of do a few things at once. And so what I try to do is first, I think about, again, the customer. And it's usually a lot of my products and services are geared toward women. So I'm thinking about her, and she's me. So I'm thinking about us. And then I'm trying to assess the market. What is that? What else is out there? How many women are struggling with this particular issue? What is the potential of a business that's going to serve a particular need? If I feel like, hey, there is significant potential, then I try to find what is the simplest single thing I can test. Actually, before I even get to a testing stage, I usually like to interview people, ideal clients. Like if I'm wanting to serve someone, I want to talk to 10, 15, 20, 25 people, just see in their words, how do they feel about this particular situation? What is it that they want? What would they invest in? What are they already investing in? What are their sort of, I don't know, secret dreams that they don't tell anyone about, but they might tell me because of, like trained listening coach ears. But so I want to then get in their words what they're looking for. And then I can start to formulate, okay, what kind of offer might these people that I talk to absolutely love? And how can I put it together in the simplest possible way and in such a way that I call it's a stupid close. Like, how can it just be so easy for somebody to say yes to that it's like they'd be stupid not to do it. You know what I mean? Not that I'm calling my customer stupid, but in their mind going, it'd be stupid for me not to do this because it's so easy to get in. And then once I'm like in with people and working with them, then of course I'm like ear to the ground. I want to hear the feedback. I want to see the comments. I want to have that feedback loop to see how can I continue to improve the thing that I've just created. And then I start to think about the larger picture of where can this ultimately go? What would the ideal business model look like? How far, based on the market that's available, how far could you scale it? How far would I want to scale it? Because just because you can doesn't mean you should. And that's generally the process, Jen.
Yeah, so just to kind of like make a brief synopsis for those of you who are watching, if you haven't been writing things down, this is pure gold. This is someone who does this regularly, and she's very gifted at implementing things that sell. But it's once you identify a pain point or a problem, and then you go and you interview your ideal client to say, hey, is this indeed a problem? Is it a problem that you'll spend money on? Like, how much are you willing to invest? And she does the due diligence on the upfront. So it's really an active listening and feedback experience throughout the whole process before you develop it, test it, and then get your feedback again and tweak it before you look at, okay, so what markets am I going to explore? What's in the periphery? Where can I adapt this? And then go.
One other thing, Jen, I would add is that in addition to interviewing the end user, I do a lot of research in the market. I take people's trainings. I'm on their email lists. I try a product. I download the app and try the service. I read reviews. I will watch YouTube videos. I really try to get a sense of what else is out there and how can my offering be different. What is my offering going to add to the conversation around whatever topic it is that my business is addressing? And if I don't also feel like I don't have a very specific and compelling and valuable addition to the conversation, then I don't move an idea forward.
Yeah, I think that's really
important. Or I don't move it very far anyway. I might say, well, hey, it's okay for like a little thing, but it's not going to be a big endeavor.
Yeah, and when you find those things, because I want to explore this too, because a lot of my business growth and in multiple areas has been through strategic partnerships and alliances with people that I identified a problem, then I did my due diligence and I said, oh, well, they're solving this. It just doesn't hit all of these things, but I don't think I'm enough of a differentiator in the marketplace, but I can give them the feedback and we can merge our customer list, right, or our client base. So I really like that you brought that up. And if you're watching this and you're thinking about launching a business, because we do have some of those people, and you have some ideas, the due diligence process is incredibly important. And I love that you actually go through and test what it is that you do. I share that same mentality as well. And so for somebody who's thinking about starting a business, they have not been an entrepreneur before, and they have an idea and they're going through due diligence, what are some of the things that they can look at or do that can kind of get that process started? Because I love to give action steps in the show that they can say, okay, great, this is the first thing that I need to do if I'm thinking about turning this idea into a business.
Yeah, Jen, I'm curious to get your take on this, actually, because in my mind, there's sort of two layers to this. There's one, your instinctual gut reaction, because if I am the customer, then I know what I want, and I know if I want it, I know millions of women want it. So in some ways, the first thing that I look for is, what's my gut response? What do I want? What would I buy? And then the second layer beyond my instinct or intuition is, then I go look at numbers and validation of numbers. How big is the market? What are the search terms? What's the search volume? Like, what are other companies doing? What's their, there's a company that I'm obsessed with building that I'm still in the research phase, but I'm looking at all the competitors and looking at their number of users, their yearly revenue, or as much data as I can get, their valuation, who are their investors, what are their key marketing messages, how do they deliver their service, what's the signature system, what's the pricing. So looking at all of the different components, how do they acquire customers? And again, some of this you have to dig and you have to kind of figure out on your own, because it's not necessarily like right out there for you on a platter, especially if it's a private company. But looking at some of those sort of more tangible numbers pieces, I think is important. But I'll be honest with you. My first go-to is my gut and intuition, because that's also an indication of something I'm going to be excited about. There are plenty of business opportunities that have great and exciting numbers and possibilities, but I don't care. So if I don't care about it, I'm not going to go through all the blood, sweat, and tears it's going to require. So I always start with that like gut feeling and what am I passionate about? And honestly, for me, sometimes all of the numbers work is just a justification for what I already know. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
Yep,
and sometimes the numbers work is like, hey, my hypothesis about what the business model could be or how it will work, maybe some of the numbers tell me that's not 100% true. Actually, you would need to adjust the model or adjust this particular piece. And so I can't say that my instinct is 100% right all the time about every single element of building the business. But I can say some people I think are more numbers first and more like focused on that piece. I just happen to be the other way around. But either way is fine. I think either way works. You just have to find what's your entry point and your style.
Yeah, and I'll share with you, I for me personally, if I'm going to bootstrap a business from scratch, I have to care about it. So I kind of have a very similar process. I notice that there is something, and it's something that I want. Like I do some high-end retreats, for example, and traditionally for women, I do women retreats that are business oriented, but also it's business and life. So we learn a physical skill, and I always find it's something that I've never had an opportunity to do that I want that I can't find for myself, because I go to a lot of these things and I'm always disappointed. And so I want to have that next level wow factor. And so then I will take that just as an example, and then I'll do the numbers just like you said. But if I'm going to be doing it as an investor, it's a different perspective. And so I think it's key to say this, because if I'm going to buy something existing as an investor, I'm going to look at the addressable market. I'm going to look at what is the fragmentation of the market. What are the things that I can do to roll up to make this business stronger? And then I'm going to look at all of the numbers first, because if I'm investing, I'm not investing because I care. I'm going to actually bootstrap this, build it up. I'm looking at it from the, is my money going to be safe standpoint? Right. And I will say this, I only invest really in companies that I believe are gonna improve upon things that are available for humanity, if you will. Like, I'm kind of selective about what I will and will not invest with. but it's a different process for me, whether I'm going to be actively involved in growing or if I'm just going to be like, okay, I'm going to buy this and I'm going to buy bolt-ons and it's just going to be something that I do to make money so that I can do all the other things I want to do in the community and in the world. So it's interesting for me that it's split like that. I don't know if everybody is like that. A lot of people are very, like you said, numbers oriented but if I'm going to do it, it's going to be in alignment with my vision, with my purpose, with who I am and what impact I want to leave in the world. 100%, because I can't wake up in the morning if I'm not excited about it.
Yeah, totally.
So thank you for sharing that. And so for somebody who's already in business, because I know one of the things that you do is you help businesses to grow and to get from that 6 to 7 figure or that 7 to multiple 7 figure mark. What is it that you find entrepreneurs are doing when they already have a business that has a measure of success and they're bumping up against that sort of like glass ceiling, if you will, and can't push through? Like, what would your advice be to those entrepreneurs who actually have success, they have a good profit margin, they're making money, they have a team, whatever, and they just can't get to the next level?
Yeah, oh my gosh, that's a good question. First of all, I work with a handful of 7 and 8 figure business owners, and I only do it during like a single day, like a VIP strategy day where someone will fly out and we're going to hammer out this very thing. And I use a framework that's kind of distilled down from my 17 years and the 6 companies and the $200 million in revenue. And I developed something called the 7 levers of scale, because I'm sure, Jen, you could do this too. You look at all your businesses or you look at all the businesses you've invested in, and you see that you're only coming back to the same 7 categories over and over again, really, to find the hidden levers. I think about levers that you pull, and then your business is like a machine. And when you pull a lever, the machine moves in a particular direction. You pull another lever, the machine moves again. And the thing that I've seen is whether you're at $100,000 in revenue or you're at $40 million of revenue, it's really only like 1 to 3 levers that you're pulling at any given time. And I think it can be hard to lose sight of that because there's so many things to have your attention on as you're growing a business. But coming down to what are absolutely the smallest, simplest lever to pull that has the biggest possible impact. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're looking for. And the 7 levers, honestly, I'm happy to share what they are. But what I also notice is that when someone is stuck at a revenue level, aside from the practical outer game of these 7 levers that you look at in your business, whether it's your business model or teams or data or whatever, there's really a time when the entrepreneur has to take a minute and just reevaluate their vision. Because a lot of times what happens when we're stuck is we've simply outgrown something that doesn't fit anymore. Mm-hmm. And that could apply over any of these levers, where maybe you've outgrown the business model that you're in. Maybe you've outgrown the team that you have. Perhaps you've outgrown the kind of product that you're offering. Maybe you've outgrown your client. Maybe you have outgrown your environment, your working space. There's something that is keeping you stuck, and the place you always have to start is you. Mm-hmm. And understanding, all right, what am I, let's just take a moment and reevaluate. Where have I been? Where am I now? Based on where I am now, where is it that I actually want to go in the future? And I think it can be tough when you've had success, you've gotten to 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, to reevaluate your vision because you have been busting your tail to get to that level of success, and you had a vision and it got you someplace. And so to potentially reevaluate and have a different vision or a new vision can feel scary. It can feel almost like a betrayal of the old vision. I'm like, am I quitting? Am I failing on this old vision because this is the thing that I was working on forever? But the reality is, it's just that a new vision is trying to emerge, because the fact is, you are not the same person that you were when you began as you are at the 1 million mark or the 2 million mark or the 10 million mark. You're changing all throughout. And so you have to understand, like, first, where do I need to be and where do I want to be? And then based on that, once you understand like the new vision, Then you can start to clarify, what is the strategy or what are the levers that I can pull that are going to support this vision?
Absolutely. And we are going to take just a brief break. Unfortunately, I hate to pause here because there's so much that I want to unpack. There was so much goodness in that statement, but we will be right back after these messages. Are you a business owner feeling overwhelmed or burnt out with no energy left for what's most important to you? In order to effectively run your business and maximize your profits, you have got to be the best possible you that you can be. Now is the time to reclaim your energy, master your schedule, and maximize your profits so you can effectively run your business rather than it running you. It's time to become the CEO of your business and life. I'm Jen Gaudet, a business strategist and life coach. I work with overwhelmed business owners who feel stuck in a rut and depleted. I teach you how to stop doing the things that aren't making you money and start prioritizing the things that bring you energy, joy, and lasting impact. I'm a human performance specialist and an international best-selling author. I've helped countless people all over the world to learn the art of saying no, overcome their fear, and maximize their performance. Let's get you to live your best possible reality. Start today and become the CEO of your business and your life.
You probably already know that first impressions are never forgotten. However, did you also know the way you feel about yourself contributes to your quality of life and the opinions of others? Hi, my name is Kristen Gunderson. My mission is to help people by flipping the switch inside their body, which in turn will help them to feel better and do more. In fact, once you feel your best, you will be able to pour into others, keep your cup full, and reach every goal you have set up for yourself, whether it's personal, family, or business related. The way you feel will dictate the way you think and the way you live your life. Feeling your best is necessary to achieve your goals. You deserve to put yourself first. Let me help you flip the switch so you can feel better and do more. Let's talk. I know I can help.
Hi, my name is Elias Basabe, founder of Little Maria's Cafe restaurant in West Houston, located in 2901 Wilkers Drive, Suite 137, first floor. Here you will find a family-friendly and relaxed environment where you can enjoy a delicious homemade breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We know you need to get to work fast, and we want you to enjoy a tasty, quality, and healthy homemade food. So come and visit us for a great nutritious meal at an affordable price. We specialize in tasty breakfasts, deli sandwiches, fish, even barbecue cookouts. Little Maria's Cafe has it all. We only use the great quality of Boar's Head meats and products. Just like you, we love to get you up early. Little Maria's Cafe is open from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. You can dine in with us during breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or we can have it ready for you for pickup. Visit us today on the first floor of the CMPC Center at 2901 Wilkers Drive, Suite 137, first floor. Order now at 832-667-8376, Little Maria's Cafe.
Stop and think. How often do you take the time to set goals? And when you set those goals, how often do you hit them? The problem is the word goal setting. We all have goals, but goals are just wishes. Goals are what we want. What we really need is called result setting. My name is Katrin Becker, and what I do is create tailor-made result plans that ensure people will hit their targets. If you are committed for real results, let's chat and see which program is right for you and your team. Goals are just what we want, but together, results are what we will achieve.
Working is risky, especially if you don't have the right attorney at your side. Hi, my name is Sonia Aston, and I'm an attorney with over 30 years of experience. I've helped small and medium-sized businesses and business owners to make sure that their legal rights and interests are protected. As general counsel for you and your organization, I can draft and review solid contracts, minimize the risk of litigation, review and prepare comprehensive business succession plans, or help you navigate your company with the local, state, and federal government. Take a decisive step today. I'm here to make sure your legal rights are protected and you have a peace of mind that you deserve.
Welcome back to Power CEOs, the truth behind the business. Jen Gaudet here, your fearless host, entrepreneur, investor, and business strategist. And if you're just tuning in, you're going to want to go to NowMedia.tv and go to the show Power CEOs and catch the first segment, because it has been pure gold and you're not going to want to miss out on all the amazingness that our guest, Carrie Peters, has been dropping about entrepreneurship, how to find your market, what to do when you want to bring an idea to a business model, and just so much more. So we're going to dive right back in now, Carrie. We were talking about your seven levers of scale. And we were talking just before the break about sometimes it's the inner game first. And I, for one, know that anytime there has been any problem in my businesses, the first thing I do is look in the mirror, because I have to ask myself, how am I showing up? What has changed for me? Whether it's a team problem, a client problem, like any problem, pick a problem. I always look in the mirror first, because you're absolutely right. As we grow, sometimes we outgrow our business or our offerings or our clients or our teams or what have you. And so I want to dive right back into that inner game, because I think this is something that is so critical. And one of the things that I share with my clients all the time is that it doesn't matter the strategy and the tactics, you can throw all that in and you will never get where you want to be if you haven't fixed the inner game. Sometimes it's a money mindset block. Like, you're really good with making a couple $1 million, but you think there's something wrong with people who make $100 million, for example. And so it doesn't matter what we do, we'll never get there because we're working against ourselves. And that's just one example. But talk to me a little bit more about the inner game of starting a business, growing a business, scaling a business, because I think it's something that we don't talk about enough on this show, for example.
I'm so excited that you brought this up because evolving your vision, the next thing that I do when I'm working with somebody is, how do you unlock your power? A lot of times they'll say when you're building a business to a new level is new level, new devil. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you've heard that phrase, but I actually want to suggest that's not really accurate. It's a new devil. When you're going to a new level, it's a new level and you have new challenges and things that you have to learn, but it's the same devils that come up. And those same things are old patterns and old sort of wires, which is a collection of neurons that fire together in your brain that get triggered from stress overload. If you've ever done work on patterns, and listen, if you're an entrepreneur, you've done work on yourself, but it's so frustrating when things that you've tried to shift and change pop up again and again and again. Money mindset issues, for example. It's like, I've worked on this. What is the issue? And the issue is that the stress of entrepreneurship is so high. There's so much uncertainty. There's so much risk. There's vulnerability. And so as that stress overloads the brain, the prefrontal cortex kind of goes offline, and then the limbic system and the amygdala start to take control, and old wires are just re-triggered. Mm-hmm. And so that's a place where you're going to want to focus and saying, like, hey, at Health Coach Institute, we call it building a business on two tracks. One is all of the outer game practical pieces, but two is the inner game, and they have to go together, or one's holding the other back. And the reality is, When you get to the success that you want to be working on the inner game anyway, because the whole idea is like your fulfillment, your happiness. And when you get to success and there's no there, and you're still not happy and you still don't feel fulfilled, and that, $10 million revenue just didn't feel like fill a hole inside, that's something to look at. I think one thing I've learned, the hard way at times is that becoming, a business success does not heal your wounds, but your wounds will hold your business back. And there's three particular ways that I see entrepreneurs really struggle with stress in their businesses. And I call it entrepreneur stress syndrome. And the three ways I see that happen are: one, numbing, two, denial, and three, arrogance, actually. Numbing is clear, like I'm overeating, I'm over drinking, I'm not sleeping, I'm buying a lot of stuff because don't I deserve it because look how hard I'm working. All the ways that we just try to shut down how we're feeling so we can keep going. And then the second, denial, is like, look, we are leaders. People are relying on us. We have our team's families, our clients, their family. Like, there's so many people relying on us that I think as leaders, and particularly as women, we just deny that there's anything wrong because we don't want to be seen as weak. And as women, we're already fighting that anyway against that stereotype. And we don't want people to think that we don't have things under control. And there has to be a place where you as the entrepreneur can go and be real about the stresses. It doesn't mean you're a fraud. It doesn't mean you're an imposter. It means that entrepreneurship is hard and you're a human. And this is the reality of the situation. We have to not be in denial about it. We have to have a space where it's safe to be open about it.
But
and
Carrie,
finally,
everyone else
I don't know,
seems to have
what's
it
that,
figured
Jen?
out.
What?
We look on social media and everybody else seems to have it figured out, and they never have these same problems.
No, they don't. They're going to be the ones crying on the phone with me, but that's okay, or on Zoom with me, but it's okay. That is normal. There is a presence that you share with your clients and your community and the people on your following and your list, and the level of vulnerability and the level of things that you share with them, you get to decide what's appropriate for you. But the fact is, you have to have a mentor, whether it's you or me or anyone, that you can go to and be honest about the really hard days. And there are really hard days. The third way that I see entrepreneur stress syndrome play out is arrogance. And that is like, just drinking your own Kool-Aid a little bit and feeling like, I think it is absolutely incredible to have success in entrepreneurship because the odds are low, and particularly for women, it sometimes it's hard for us to just really own our success. But sometimes out of insecurity, we sort of tip over into arrogance. We place too much value on the numbers and the revenue in order to sort of cover up our other like insecurities and challenges. And the other problem with this is like when we are arrogant, we can start to believe that because we've had such success in the business, we have figured out life. We've broken the chains of the societal construct, which you have as an entrepreneur, right? Which is something to be proud of, but it can tip over to go like, I've figured everything out in life. I am bulletproof.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Really
it can almost be like a false armor that seduces you into not doing that deeper inner work because you feel like, well, I must be good because look at all the success that I've created, right?
Well, and in my experience, like when we get complacent or when we stop learning, that's a really dangerous place to be because that's when you lose your empire that you've just built, if you will, if you look at it in that way. Because truthfully, and you were one of the people who taught this to me, is we're only able to take our clients as far as we're willing to go. Well, what does that mean? Every time I learn something new, there's 10 other things that I didn't know. So it's like the more you learn and grow, the more there is out there. And so we're constantly in this growth kind of like zero-based thinking, right? Zero-based thinking where we've always got something new, something to aspire to as entrepreneurs so that we can continue our growth journey. So I'm really curious, as you explained the sticking your head in the sand denial, the burying that anything's wrong, or the arrogance to hide like our insecurities, like how does an entrepreneur, if they're seeing themselves or they heard themselves in that synopsis, how do they get themselves out of that? Like, what is their way to find that? If they maybe don't have a coach, I would suggest get a coach or a mentor. But like, if they're watching this now and like, ooh, that's me, I might be sticking my head in the sand. Like, what is your, like, you know what, today you can do this to start that positive momentum?
Today, you can look for a coach, a mentor, a therapist, somebody to talk to that you trust, that you're not feeling like your reputation is on the line if you have that conversation. That is really important. The other thing is, I really can't recommend something called emotional brain training highly enough. It is an incredible tool that was developed at the University of California School of Medicine by a health psychologist, PhD, Dr. Laurel Mellon. This is something I use with my clients, and it's an incredibly powerful way and simple way that's based on cutting edge research in neuroscience to move the brain from stress overload to a place of like joy and resourcefulness and empoweredness. Empoweredness is not a word, but you get what I'm saying. It's a way to create emotional resilience in the brain. And that is the thing that entrepreneurs need the most, is resilience, emotional resilience, because it's an up and down. It's a roller coaster. And we need something that we can do. It's emotional brain training is like, you can be working with a group, you can work with a single practitioner, or it's an app on your phone. And 10 times a day, I can run myself through these emotions and clear out stress and come back to a meeting or a client session or whatever and feel like, okay, I got this out. That's one of the most powerful ways I've seen to clear the brain around stress. Plus, it helps break any false associations that we might have. Like, I get my value from struggle. Like, if I feel like I'm only valuable if it's hard, that's gonna show up in our business. If I feel like I get my power from pushing, then I'm always gonna have to push, right? So it's also a way to uncover some needs that our brain is trying to get met. They're just getting met in a way that's not productive or helpful anymore. And emotional brain training can rewire that.
I really appreciate you bringing that up. And EBT is very important. If you're watching emotional brain training, look it up, figure it out, do some research on it. It is exceptionally powerful. And Carrie, it brings me to the next question, or really, I guess, statement. And I want to see your insight in this, because what I've noticed is, a lot of times as we are hitting scale or whatever, those patterns emerge, and there's a couple of underlying things that just always seem to come up, more with women than men, but it also happens with men. And that's, I'm not good enough, I don't know enough, I'm not smart enough to get to that next level, or I don't deserve it in some way because I don't have this degree or that certification or whatnot. Can you speak a little bit to that? Because 100% of the time when people come to me with those things, they think no one else has these same feelings, but it is a common experience in entrepreneurship. Can you speak a little bit to that, and maybe something that would be a self-awareness tip for people who are watching if they think, it's not me? What are some kind of dead giveaways, if you will?
Well, it may not be. I think those things don't come up until you're really stretched to a new level, until you're really stretched so far out of your comfort zone that all of a sudden they come up. And the truth is, everybody has those worries and fears and concerns. If it's not happening now, it'll happen another time, right? That's because it's just human to have that. So this is another thing that emotional brain training will address. But if you think about it, these are just wires. It's a collection of neurons that fire in your brain. And because it's a wire, it can be rewired. So it doesn't have to be, I don't know that you can be human and not have those things come up. But what I do know is when they come up, it's an opportunity to rewire them and set yourself up for the future, instead of feeling like I have to sit here and I'm not good enough, I'm bad, I can't possibly, I don't deserve, I have no power. But also noticing if you do feel that way, to really know it's just a wire. It's not actually true. And also understanding that when the brain is really stressed, and especially when you're thinking about going to the next level, it's like very scary. There's more uncertainty. You haven't been there before. You're not quite sure what you're going to encounter. You don't know if you can handle it because you haven't been there before. So part of your brain, your critter brain, your amygdala is telling you that there's danger there. Be afraid, be very afraid. And then your brain's going to load up. You're not good enough. You can't. Da, da, da. It's just to recognize, like, this is just how the brain works.
Mm-hmm. So
it's
we're all
okay.
Human. We're human first. Go figure. At least still, we're still human first right now. Who knows?
For now, yeah.
And everything that's coming into. But I want to kind of take this to the next question, because you're absolutely right. When we get to a new level, or we're looking at the next level in our business, those fears are normal. They're natural. It's a part of human experience. How important is it to find a coach or a mentor, someone who's been there, who can help you collapse the time and kind of navigate through the unknown so that you can maybe minimize some of the impact of the fears and stress, and let's be honest, let's minimize the amount of money, time, blood, sweat, and tears that we throw down the toilet because we're doing it wrong. So how important is it, and has it been in your journey? Because 6 companies, very, very large revenues, you've obviously got this figured out.
Well, there's plenty I don't have figured out. There's plenty of mistakes. I mean, there's just a long list of mistakes over the year, but you don't have to get everything right. In entrepreneurship, and you're not going to. But to answer your question, how important it is to have a mentor? I mean, to me, it's absolutely non-negotiable. And every time I have tried, I'll have coaches like health coaches or maybe a life coach or something. But every time I have tried and I've not had a business coach in particular, I have suffered. Mm-hmm. Mostly because I lose sight of possibility. My vision of what's possible starts to narrow, because we're too close to our own stuff. We can't always see possibilities when they're there. So having a set of eyes, plus I tell my coach now, like, you have to hold the confidence for me because I can't hold it. Mm-hmm. I can't. I really struggle to believe that I'm going to be able to achieve X, Y, or Z. And I need you to be confident for me because I can't be confident for me. And then on top of that, there's their business and marketing expertise that is going to shorten my learning curve. And it's going to validate, or like help me validate, which of my instincts are going to take me down sort of the best path. I personally think that mentorship and coaching, especially when building a business, is the most important line item on your expenses.
And I would actually argue, Carrie, that it's not an expense, it's an investment, because the return on investment of having the right coaches and mentors in your corner, you're going to see over and over and over again in the bottom line, in your top line and your bottom line. Let's be real. And this is a conversation I have with a lot of people, because they do look at it as an expense, but in my mind, anytime I've had a coach or a mentor, and I have 7 right now in different areas and different businesses and investing. So, but every time that I invest in myself, I grow. And no amount of money has ever been something where I looked at it and went, wow, I wish I hadn't spent that. Because
no, I've never said that. The other thing is, I like to play a game with myself, because if I'm investing in coaching, then my game with myself is, how am I going to, at minimum, 10x this investment? Yep. And how fast can I do it? So there's something about the investment itself that galvanizes me into taking action that I wouldn't have taken beforehand. I would have been like, oh, maybe I don't need to do X, Y, Z. I guess I could sit back. But once I put the money on the table, now I'm like, okay, it's go time. I have got to make the magic happen. And then I do, and I end up having to stretch myself out of my comfort zone and do all the things that we have to do to get to the new outcomes and results that we want.
Yeah, I really love that you brought that up, because we do that with every other thing that we do, right? When we look at it from a marketing standpoint, and we're going to go speak on a stage or maybe pay to be on a very large stage, then we have a revenue goal that we have to make to cover that, and then some. So I think that looking at it from that perspective is absolutely amazing. I find that I share that with you. But I don't look at it as a 10x. I look at it as, how much time am I going to save? Like, I look at it as, how much faster can I do it? Because to me, and this may just be the stage in life that I am, it's my time is very valuable and I don't want to waste it spinning wheels. So every time I put that money on the line, I want to know, am I going to get there faster? And I'm going to push myself. If it happens for other people in 3 years, I'm going to do it in 1. Because like that's just who I am as a human being, and I'm hyper competitive. So I guess that's part of being an athlete for so long. But it's really interesting that you put it in that perspective. No one's actually ever shared that on here before. So if you're watching this show and you're like on the fence about getting a mentor or a coach in your business, do it. Carrie has just given you the recipe to make that return on investment. And so, Carrie, I know, unfortunately, we don't have endless time today, and I could honestly ask you several more questions. But I want to know a little bit more about if someone's listening to this and are like, listen, I really like the idea of these levers, these 7 levers that you have. What are they? How can they get more information about that?
Yeah, well, I have a free masterclass. It's called the 7 Levers of Scale Masterclass, 7 being the number. So you can go to www.the7leversofscalemasterclass.com, and this is a picture of the page here in my amazing jacket. I love that blazer. And this is where I share the 7 levers of scale. We go deeper into unlocking the inner pieces as well. But I'm happy to share the 7 levers with you if you'd like.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Well, we talked about the inner piece that's evolving your vision and unlocking your power. And then the external levers are your business model. 2nd is your team. 3rd is your data. 4 is your brand. 5th is your lead generation and conversion. 6th is your product or service delivery. And then 7 is your operations. And then I have a bonus lever that is your network, because of course meeting the right person can change everything in a moment. So those are them.
And you know, you've hit the nail on the head. We've discussed some of these a lot before on the show, specifically marketing, branding, sales, conversions, because that's the lifeblood of your business. But I want to dive into your bonus lever, because that's something that has been so critically important to me personally and professionally. And I know that people who have gone through the programs with you have experienced this as well. Talk a little about the importance of being in the room that supports you and stretches you. How important is that network, and how do you find those opportunities? Because I think that's a missing piece in a lot of people's toolbox, if you will, when they think that entrepreneurship is a lonely journey and they don't really have that community or that network to lean on. Talk to me a little bit about how do you find that and what that is for you.
Yeah, you know, first of all, I would just say that the community is everything, because again, I'm going to feed off the group energy, and my inspiration is going to come from like being in that buzz and being in that vibe. Plus it is lonely. Like otherwise I'm sitting at home, you know, working by myself all day. But I think in person is really important. It's great to have virtual groups, and I do have them, and a lot of my groups are like a combination of in-person and virtual, but there's something about being in a room with people where you're not in your normal environment, like the retreats that you lead, Jen, that's the place that people want to go. They're not in their normal home environment anymore. They're in a different physical location with different people, opening up to a totally different mindset. So, you know, you don't have to look far. You just go to Jen's retreat. I think that's the easy answer there. But then you can also look up, well, who are the experts in your field or in your industry? Or I like to look at other industries. I don't like to be locked into the coaching industry, for example. There are other industries that have great knowledge, information that I can learn and apply to my coaching school that's different from what other schools are doing. I like to get inspiration from elsewhere. So you can look up the people in your field, someone you may listen to their podcast or somebody you follow on somewhere on social, and see if they have some kind of networking experience. You can reach out to the way I actually found my first group was I reached out to someone I admired, and I said, hey, I really love your work. Are you in like a mastermind? Do you mentor with anyone? Do they have a group? And she said, oh yeah, it's so-and-so. Well, I, go to so-and-so's event, and ended up staying with that mentor for 4 years, trying to learn everything she knew. And what a great group of people that I'm still friends with to this day. So I really cannot encourage in really investing in networking and your network enough.
Fantastic. So unfortunately, all good things do come to an end, including this show. And I know you're sad, I'm sad, everybody watching is sad. But if we could give everybody just one parting thing that they could take away and do today, based off of everything that we covered, what could they do today to really shift their momentum, get that momentum in the positive, that they could take action on? It's not too hard. It's something that's going to just get that fire going for them in your mind, whether they're a new entrepreneur, a entrepreneur, or somebody who's scaling their business.
I like to imagine with my clients and myself, I like to remind myself that time is a construct that we kind of don't know that it's real. And let's just imagine for a moment that it isn't, and that there is a future version of you that already has the result that you want. And just to allow yourself to imagine that and feel into it, you're going to feel your entire body relax, likely, because now we can relax into the feeling of having versus the feeling of striving, right? And wanting, which has our body in like tension, which can be good at times. But honestly, being able to just relax for a minute and to go, oh, there is a version of me where this is done. As a matter of fact, when I think about that for myself, it just kind of brings tears to my eyes in this moment of going like, yeah, this is, this is not really woo. You know what I mean? It may sound so to some.
Yep. And
but,
so future pacing and putting yourself in that version of you that's already achieved what it is that you wanted to achieve. I think that's absolutely fascinating, and it's a powerful tool. I use it myself. So if you're watching or you're listening, go ahead and put yourself in the version of you that's already achieved that next level of success, achieved what it is that you're hoping to look for, and relax and enjoy the success that you've had so that you can already know what it's like and get rid of some of the stress over, I can't do this, because you've already been there. So
that's right. And then you can start to make decisions from that version of you. So if I know it's already happening, it's there. What decision am I going to make about that investment or that networking event or that marketing campaign or that, because all I'm doing now from this place is I'm just going to be intersecting with my future self, the decisions that I make, right? So it becomes a very different place from which to make the decisions of today.
I love it. You, ladies and gentlemen, heard it from here first, from Carrie Peters. Future Pace. Make the decisions from that future version of yourself. If you are interested in getting in touch with Carrie, Carrie has given you the information for her masterclass. Please reach out to her. She is an amazing mentor and coach, specifically if you're a strong-powered female entrepreneur, because I know that is her real powerhouse. And her passion. So thank you for being here. You heard it. The action step is to put yourself in the place where you've already achieved what it is you're striving for. And then feel how good it feels to have already arrived and make decisions from that place. Don't do this tomorrow. Don't wait until next week. Do it today, right now, today. Because the knowledge that you've gotten from the past hour is only a very small part of the equation. The magic happens when you implement and take action. So take that action step, begin your success, and start to move that forward, because that little step forward every day creates that positive momentum that's going to get you from where you are today to where you want to be. And those micro habits of success are what are going to bring into a reality that future pace self. So unfortunately, everything does come to an end, but I'll be here same time, same station next week. Until then, go win today, win this week, and we'll see you next time.
This has been a NowMedia Television feature presentation. All rights reserved.
Stop and think. How often do you take the time to set goals? And when you set those goals, how often do you hit them? The problem is the word goal setting. We all have goals, but goals are just wishes. Goals are what we want. What we really need is called result setting. My name is Katrin Becker, and what I do is create tailor-made result plans that ensure people will hit their targets. If you are committed for real results, let's chat and see which program is right for you and your team. Goals are just what we want, but together, results are what we will achieve.
The tax and bookkeeping team is key to any successful business. At Gunderson's Bookkeeping, our passion is to help small business owners grow, be profitable, and to prosper. We specialize in supporting small to mid-sized business owners who want to hire a full-time or even a part-time bookkeeper